Hi, and welcome to the Interiors Insider podcast by AGC. I'm Tara, stepping in for Tori while she's off on mat leave. I can't wait to hear what today's special guest will share with us. So here we go. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Tim Hyatt, a colleague, a friend, a boss. Ex-boss. He still likes to think he's a boss, really, don't you? Head of
Tara's
resident.
my PA. How many moons ago?
A long time ago.
Probably, let's guess, 15 years ago?
No,
10
gosh,
years
I'm
ago.
not that old.
10 years ago.
10 years ago, for 4 blissful years.
Wonderful.
And that was it. And then I said to you one day when you
I'm
came back
moving
from
you.
holiday, I know you've had a lovely holiday, and you said, don't tell me about any resignations. And I was like, but here's mine.
What did I do for you?
You said to me, don't go for a while. You didn't talk to me all day.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long month. And then you helped me get that fabulous job in Dubai.
Correct.
Yes.
And that was perfect, wasn't it? It was like we were to try and get Knight Frank Interiors off the ground. We knew that there was that mixture of Middle Eastern or Asian investors
Yeah.
tying in with our customer care team.
Yeah.
So the ResDev team would go out there, they would sell their product for some of our developer clients, and then it used to be in the really old days, just that's it, they'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
And then we created this sort of turnkey solution where we would introduce the property, then the lettings team would take it over in terms of how it's going to work, we would manage it, we'd finance it, and we would dress it. But we needed someone in a halfway house, didn't we? And you said, do you think you're going to Dubai? And I thought, well, that'd be perfect.
It was the perfect time and the perfect storm, and we had such a great pipeline coming through of all of these amazing developments across central London completing.
Yeah.
It was hectic, but it was brilliant, and they were days that will stay with me forever, I think.
But it broke up the journey, didn't it?
Really did, yeah.
For you to get from Dubai to Hong Kong, how long did that take?
6 hours?
And if you were doing that from London, even though you didn't have any commitments back then,
yeah, it's
that would have been a
10
long
hours,
time.
Yeah, and then go on the Friday, come back on the Sunday, back into work on the Monday. Yeah, it was great for the air miles. Great for the air miles. And they were different days as well. You were heading up lettings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to grow the lettings business on the basis that I wanted volume. I needed to get volume, and the way to do it was by opening the new development sites. So Goodman's Fields, Tower Bridge, King's Cross, put a lettings office on site, pick up all the overseas investment buyers, dress it, so as soon as it came to the market, in a flash.
Yeah.
And that's really the concept of Knight Frank Interiors,
how it started. And then from there we were branching out into home staging. We met some amazing clients with some really interesting portfolios as well.
Yeah.
Have been welcomed into their families and into their homes, so really transformed some spaces. So whether it be in London, whether it be out of London, and now internationally. So our footprint has spread far and wide in those 10 years. So it's incredible, actually. But it's not about me.
Okay.
It's about you.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about you and your career since me leaving you. When you're the head of lettings, then what happened?
Of course, it
for
all
God's
fell
sake.
to bits. Whatever. So, 21 years at Knight Frank now.
Whew.
Still feel the new guy on the block. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, it's a funny old place.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm talking about being part of a 128-year heritage, which is what Knight Frank is.
Yeah.
And it's a phenomenal place. We'll get on to that in a minute. But as you know, lettings was my bag.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very small fledgling business when I took it over. Was it going to carry on, last or not? I'd come from Foxtons, and it was like going 1,000 miles an hour to a brick wall.
Different. Yeah.
So we had to turn it around, and I had to adapt, and the people working for me had to adapt, and we kind of got by. It was hit and miss for the first couple of years, and then we began to grow and grow and grow, and offices quadrupled in size, and income started growing, and we launched all sorts of different components to our business. So I did that, loved that, and that's really my DNA, I think, career-wise, lettings, residential lettings. And then I took over the running of the London business from Noel Flint.
So sales now, sales and
Well, it was sales, but I said to Noel, look, I'll do it, but I want to be able to run sales and lettings.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I was running lettings, Noel was running sales.
Yeah.
And before that, Dick Ford was running sales and I was running lettings. But I thought it was important to try and bring lettings and sales together more. You know, we house over 3,500 tenants almost every year.
Mm.
That's a lot of people that are sort of in a holding pattern about what they're going to do and whether they're going to move on and whether they're going to buy, whether they're going to buy the property they're renting in. So we needed to be joined up at the hip. So we did that. And then Andy Hay was running the residential business for the group around the world. And I think I was put into the mix with a few others, and we had an interesting year building up to him departing. He was very good. He was very good in terms of handing over the ropes, and I got the job. And I'm now just about to start from April this year, my 6th year. So you get a 5-year term, running residential, and then you can.
You've been doing it for 5 years already?
I've been doing it for 5
Oh my
years.
goodness me.
Got a call from Will, or Will and I had a few conversations, our senior partner, and he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Oh, it's a tough gig, this one." And I said, "Let's go for a 2-year extension." So I've agreed that I'll carry on until I'm 58, and then if you're an equity partner on Knight Frank, you have to retire at 60 anyway. So I'll carry on running residential for the last 2 years. I think fascinating time that we're in at the moment.
Oh my goodness.
Super
Sure.
challenging.
Yeah.
More challenging than anything else I've done in my career. Where we
And do
find
you
ourselves.
like that though? Is that all kind of part of it keeps it exciting in a way?
Well,
I imagine it's quite stressful.
I think you know that there are two very different Tims.
Yeah.
There's Tim at home that I think that if a majority of the audience that work for me saw the Tim at home and how my kids treat me and how my wife and I communicate with each other, it's hysterical in comparison to the Tim at work. Tim at work is a very different sort of face. Bring on a challenge.
Yeah.
And I think
And it's
I'm
not the same at home?
They wouldn't say that.
Don't ask Dad.
One of the things that infuriates me about the home is that they always have to repeat themselves.
Because you don't listen?
Because I don't listen.
Oh my goodness
It kind of
me.
goes in one ear and it goes out.
Oh my god. And what are you
Drives me
thinking
nuts.
of? Not work, surely.
Well, they'll start a conversation. It's like, that's why I can never read a book. It would take me a year to read a book. My wife can read 5 books in a week. It takes me a year, and because I read a page, and then within that page there'll be something that will connect with something that happened this morning or yesterday or that I haven't done. But it's all, I spend my entire life trying to connect the dots. So I get very easily distracted. So when I'm at home, I try and switch off. And when I get, I'm even worse. So it drives me nuts.
Goodness me. And so if they saw you in your work environment, how do you think they would react? Would they laugh? Or would they think, wow, gosh,
So Maddie,
he's quite a formidable character, isn't he?
well, okay, so case in point. Maddie, who's 21 now, when I first started at Knight Frank, 3 months after starting, she was born, and now she's 21.
Oh.
She came in to do a couple of weeks' work experience week before last. So she's seen that. She's seen Dad in the office, and she thinks it's hysterical. The way people interact with me, the way they, the way they treat me.
I bet.
And
But that's like Dad, actually.
I'm 2 floors down. I'm a long way away, but I get talked about a lot. And then I do a sort of Teams call to the business, and she's giggling away, saying.
But then I bet she came away thinking, wow, actually really proud. I thought, that's my dad. Yeah.
I don't.
Or maybe she wouldn't tell you that.
No. But she said it was great, and it was lovely to have her there. Actually,
Yeah.
I was concerned. You bring family into work. I was concerned, because I spend every day I make tough decisions, and I make decisions that a lot of people don't like sometimes.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily want to have my daughter with one impression of me. I think she had a pretty good idea that I had a very busy job.
Yeah.
But her working in the workplace and then hearing people saying, "Oh, that it's just done that, and I don't understand why he's done that."
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear that. But anyway, it worked out fine. She loved it. We got to go home on the train every night and sort of go through the day and what had happened, and it was lovely.
Oh, very nice.
Really good.
And so going back to kind of your career, as it were, now, what actually first attracted you to Knight Frank? When you said you kind of were at Foxtons, it was a million miles an hour. What made you think, actually, I'm ready to make the move?
To be really honest, I was a slight impasse. I thought I was going to lose my job.
What have you done now?
Well, I hadn't really done anything, but John Hunt, I knew was brewing a scheme about not needing to have a head of sales and a head of lettings or a managing director or a lettings director. He thought he was going to get the sales directors or the regional partners or the area directors to do the dual role, almost like what I did with London. So to become the head of sales and the head of lettings.
Fine.
And I was getting a bit sort of twitchy about it. So a mate of mine from Foxtons, somebody that I worked with, a guy called Ben Podesta, he had left. He come to Knight Frank. He was working in Notting Hill with Caroline Ford. And he said, look, the guy whose lettings business Knight Frank had acquired, Berthold Ewing, wants to step away from that and get more involved in the world of enfranchisement and lease extensions. So we don't know what to do with our lettings business. Do you want to do it? And I came along for an interview with Nick Tomlinson. He then went on to be senior partner, and then I had another couple of interviews, and I thought they were never going to match what I was getting paid. And they did. Well, close enough.
Nice.
So then I said yes. And I started, and I can tell you that first 3 months, I was thinking, what have I done?
I was about to say, was there any moments you thought, oh, actually, have I done the right thing here?
Every minute of the day. I thought,
Why?
Because it was dead from the waist down. It just wasn't.
And the pace was different.
And I can't explain the difference between the pace at Foxtons and what I come into. I thought, it's going to be turning a juggernaut around in a country lane if I'm going to get this right.
God.
But I stuck at it, and then I got a phone call from one of the top dogs at Kinney Folkard and Hayward. And he said, can you give me a call back? And I called him back. I said, you're calling me for two reasons, or one reason. You've either got a major complaint, or you want to have a fight over a fee on something that we're doing together, or you want to offer me a job. And he said, it's the latter. So I then went along and I met Lee Watts, the owner of Kidneys. He was a wonderful guy, still is. I haven't seen him for years and years. And we sat down, we chewed the fat, and we got really embedded in discussions. And then there was a job offer there to go to Kidneys. And I stepped back and I thought, even though I knew what it was like, am I blowing it too soon? Because if I went to Kidneys, I'd be going back into the world of a more similar vein of Foxtons.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. Knight Frank, one thing I knew for sure is that Knight Frank had an extraordinary brand attached to it.
Yeah.
So I stayed. And 21 years later, I'm still here.
Gosh, and how different life could have been. Where would you have been now, I wonder?
I don't know. I mean, they've just been sold, so if I'd stayed there all that time, I might have
probably on the golf course.
Maybe on the golf course.
Very nice.
Who knows?
So was that kind of turning point? Was that a pinch me moment, or kind of when have been the pinch me moments in your career?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Pinch me moments. I guess the reality of moving from Foxtons into Knight Frank, then that first option to get out, which we just talked about, then beginning to unearth the opportunity and what I could get out of the brand, and then becoming an equity partner. I think I had aspirations to try and be the youngest ever equity partner made up at Knight Frank. I don't know whether I was. I think Ian Maris might have been, but I was definitely one of the younger ones. And I didn't know whether I was that close or whether I was that close. I knew that I wanted to make a decision by the time I was 40. If I hadn't got there, then I was probably, because I'd done so much or had got so much experience building a business of a scale and size, it was well over 100 people then. I could go into having a go at being a managing director or chairman of another business, but at a young age, maybe a startup or something. And then I got made up, and I really didn't know. I had no idea. As I said,
what a complete surprise!
It was a complete surprise.
You must have had some idea. Come on.
I had a whiff that I was being talked about.
Yeah.
But I didn't know whether it was actually going to happen. And I remember I was told by Nick, and then I called Patrick Ramsey. He was running residential at the time, and I'm not ashamed to say I broke down. It was in the backyard of Hanover Square where we used to have our head office, and I lost it with him. And actually, lots of people watching this probably won't know Patrick, but Patrick has incredibly high. He had a very high moral, and still has a moral code. He was a strong man. He was absolutely all about strategy. At times intimidating, not intentionally, but he was a forceful power, but a great man in terms of his moral compass, and I learnt a lot from him. But that was a pinch moment, and then going home and telling my wife and the kids were too young to understand what was going on. Building the lettings business, handing over the lettings business to Gary and the team to keep it going.
Yeah.
Without
that's your baby. Like, you obviously would probably thought, oh, this is, I'm handing this over to someone I trust. Must feel quite protective as well.
100%. And look, I did that for 17 years, and I had a lettings team, because I go around the country seeing all the businesses, and I had a team meeting with them this morning. There were 4 people there that have worked for me throughout this entire journey, and it just brought everything back, how we're discussing the business and opportunities, and what I love about Mike Frank and the business, and how they can further their careers, etc., etc. But yeah,
and that is something really special, I think, about Mike Frank. It's almost, there is that kind of family feel. Like you say, you meet people that you have been in the business for 10, 15, 20 years or more, and they're just so loyal to it, and the brand is so loyal to them, and it feels like a family. There's a real sense of kind of community and care and everything else that goes with it, which has to be led by you guys, basically.
Yeah, it's a partnership. And I say this all the time to people, but I think with the younger generation, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But the facts are, we are independent. We're the largest independent real estate firm in the world. We're a multi-billion-dollar business. If you look at all the associations that we have with our friends in America and around the world, we might not own their businesses. We might have an association with it, but if you total it all up, it's well over £3 billion. We employ 26,000 people around the world in 53 different countries, and yet we've still got this family feel to it that makes us really, really special.
Yeah.
And every time I think about it, I get super proud about the fact that I've stayed here, I've managed to stay here.
Yeah.
And that I've been given all the opportunities that I've been given, and that's the thing for the kids out there, learn, always use this more than this, look at the good stuff, copy the good stuff, spend my life copying and pasting all the good things that I see, learn from the bad stuff, don't be frightened of making mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you'll never learn.
Yeah.
Believe in the people around you. Always try and have somebody within your team that's better than you. And I'm surrounded by people that are better than me. And that's no bad thing. No. Never be worried about that.
And I mean, who would be I suppose, out of all of this, who would be the person that you have looked up to the most? Obviously, you mentioned Patrick being quite a...
Oh my God, I can't answer that. Because then I'll...
Piss everyone else off.
Yes!
That's all right.
Yeah.
Turn off now if you don't want to hear anymore.
No. I mentioned Patrick in the context of a particular moment, but there are lots of people that have supported me on my way in all sorts of different ways. There are too many to name. I'll do it when I have my farewell lunch dinner. And I've got a big thing is bonkers, I know, but going through my head, I also want to meet up with all the people that I had to part company with.
What would you say to them, though?
Well, look, I've always maintained I've only ever had to fire 2 people.
Oh, I remember one of them.
In my career. And that's really short. That's when they walk into the office and I don't even let them sit down. I've had to part company with lots of people for various reasons. And they've either gone on to do well or not so well, or it's happened for the right reasons. And I like to make sure that I can leave with a clean slate.
Yeah.
I must do with those people. But there have been an awful lot of people that have been around me. My wife sits at the heart of it. She's been very accommodating. She never sees me.
Biggest supporter.
Look, it's a funny one, that. I think she would... she just lets me have to do what I've got to do. She's never super interested in it. Why should she be? And where I go wrong all the time, and I can say this as like a sort of, if she ever is to watch it, is the way a conversation always goes about life is, we need to do this, we need to do that, and then it's about family. So it's always work first, then the family.
And that's what she thinks.
Well, that's what I'm like.
Gosh, wow.
So the role reversal, when I start living in her office, when I finish, or whatever I do next, that's going to be different, and it's going to have to be the other way around. But I can tell you, my God, am I looking forward to reacclimatizing and being with, the thing that you have one hit of life. You're a mum now.
Yeah.
It's mega important.
It is.
It's mega important. But equally, it's been a long, hard graft.
Yeah. And like we said, I suppose the working day is just part of your DNA. It becomes part of your lifestyle, and then once that finishes, it's quite an adjustment to make, I imagine.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? That was my next question anyway. What are you going to do? First thing, actually, no. What are you going to do? It's your last day at night, Frank. Picture the scene. You get up in the morning, probably at ridiculous o'clock, 4:30, 5 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
You have your coffee and away you go. You're on the train. What would you listen to on Spotify?
Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I pictured this 1,000 times. The first thing I do.
Not that you're looking forward to it.
You're right. My alarm does go off between 20 past and 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, that's horrendous.
I
You
like
could be
to
a
try.
breakfast show host.
Could be a breakfast show.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm by the side of my bed. I'm going to have a hammer, and when I wake up, I'm going to smash my alarm clock.
Oh my
into 1,000
goodness, yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
And that's going to give me great.
But the things, you're so programmed to get up at that time, that's it. Unless you become the complete opposite and just, I'll get up at midday. Nothing else to get up for.
I don't think I know what it's going to be like until that actually happens.
Yeah.
I know for sure I've got no shortage of things to do. I have spent my life completely committed to working. As you well know, we can have a giggle about this in a minute because it'd be quite interesting for whoever's watching this. My imposter syndrome at times has been a dominant factor in my life. And the idea that I won't have to worry about that, it's kind of within my genes.
I was about to say, I think you will.
I have to try and be the first one in. I want everyone to think how hard I'm working or trying or whatever. And it's, people can work twice as effectively between 9 and 6 than 5 and 8.
Yeah.
It's just the way I am. It's kind of routine and habit. When I finish, I'm gonna. On the last day,
let's picture the scene. Last day, you get into the office. Are you gonna just work as normal? Are you just gonna walk around, say hello to people, like you're the mayor or something?
I'm gonna work as though it's a normal day up until the last minute.
It's gonna be a very strange day, though, isn't it?
Shut the door.
And it's 6 o'clock. The 6th floor is emptying. Then what do you do?
Can I just point out this is a long way off?
You'll be here before you know it.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's exciting to think about what's next.
Okay, so
then I was going to say, what do you do that evening, and then what do you do the next day when you wake up? If you're not hungover, of course.
I'll be hungover, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll be with my mates, and then there'll definitely be a plan.
Yeah.
My life is all about plans.
First holiday?
Somewhere big, somewhere glamorous, somewhere nice.
Long haul?
The entire family, long haul, and it will be a celebration at the end of my one life and career and success, and we'll be together as a family and we'll have a laugh and we'll cheer over next steps, which I'm sure we would have done a lot before. But I've got a ton of things. I'm learning to fly.
Oh, very nice.
At the moment, which I've always wanted to do. Always loads of things around the house, loads of sorting and administration and investments that I want to nurture and work on. I've got external investments as though that are ticking on nicely. I've got a portfolio of property now that I rented out, here in the UK and further afield in Europe. So that will keep me a little bit busy because I'll take that away from some of the agents that manage myself.
The agents in him always, eh?
and then I want the ideas that are on the table at the moment is I'll get into probably non-exec stuff. I might do but do pro bono work for young startups. So I'll probably go through 3 months of seeing 60 businesses, and I'll choose 5 that I want to help and support, and I'll give them advice for free on the basis I take a cut of their growth when they take off.
Nice.
And of those, 1 might work, 5 might work. Who knows? So I'll do that. That will keep me ticking over. I'm going to do a bit of speaker circuit stuff where I'm going to get on the tour of speaking and senior leadership around the world about me and imposter syndrome and mental health. Because I know this always makes you giggle, but you know, there's a real world out there for it, and no one in senior management really wants to talk about it because they think that it betrays a weakness. I don't. I talk about it all the time. I think there's a market for it. I've spoken to a few people about it, and they say there's definitely a market for it because no one's bold enough to speak about it. So that might fall on deaf ears. It might be nothing, but you know, I want to be able to give something back, and I want to be able to look at Lawrence. Actually, do you know what I really want to be able to do? I don't want to have to care. Yeah. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. I'll try something else.
But will the entire be like, oh, why didn't it work? Maybe they didn't think I was sincere enough.
Probably, but they'll give me the feedback, and then I'll try something else. Look, the other thing is the unknown, and what a lot of people have said is that when you do finish, you'll be amazed how many people come out of the woodwork that want to speak to you. Okay,
so back to life as you know it. Obviously, everything throughout your career, you've always had that entrepreneurial side of things. Tell our listeners a little bit about it.
We had to build the letting speeds, which I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We had to break into volume, and then what were the spin-off opportunities?
Yeah.
In order to win the instructions in Asia, we couldn't just offer a letting service, so it had to be lettings, management, finance, and then we came up with the idea of interiors. There were 2 things for interiors actually. One was that, doing furniture packs for overseas investor landlords. And then the original concept that I had was to take 10% of the sales instructions that we had on the market that were empty, with no life to them, cold, central heating and business switched on, get you guys to come in and dress them, put them onto the market as a show apartment or show house, beautifully dressed, and then they would sell. And it's quite difficult to sell to get the negotiators to get the clients to do that. But you and I know it's ridiculous that the second they do it,
oh my goodness,
a property that's been on the market for months just suddenly goes.
Unbelievable, yeah. And the transformations that we have seen, the results that we have seen as well, has been second to none, really. And I think a lot of the agents can vouch for that.
And now here we are in one of the most beautiful developments in London, the Old Borough Office, that Knight Frank are lucky enough to be instructed on. A superb and loyal client of ours, and we're in one of their 2-bedroom apartments, and it's beautifully designed.
Yeah.
And I think the way, if you look around the apartment now, you can't pick it up in the film, but the way it's been styled and dressed by your team is fantastic. People are very short-sighted in terms of a look and feel. They can walk straight in here and it's done, and you can live here, you can move in tonight and be very, very happy.
And I think that's the interesting part about the partnership that Akuta have with Knight Frank, the opportunities it gives us to meet so many interesting global clients who buy properties like this, and they are the most fabulous people, and they've always got interesting stories, but sometimes they just cannot visualise what they want, and sometimes even trying to get that information from them. There are so many probing questions you have to ask.
Yeah.
In our mind, we know what they want, or we think we know what they want, but it's just trying to piece it all together. And that kind of makes it all the fun, because actually you get to know them as a person, you get to know them as a family, how they operate, and then you end up creating these magical spaces. So it's pretty cool.
And you've definitely done a number here, because it looks fantastic. I love this development.
Yeah.
I love the Old Borough Office. I love where it's located. It's in this sort of rich, secret part of London that's attached to the Secret Service, it's attached to Parliament, it's attached to royalty. Everything is right on its doorstep. You've got the river just down the road. I think it's great.
Well, add it to your portfolio.
Add it to my portfolio.
There we go. So we're nearly coming to the end. I'm going to ask you one final question.
Why don't I ask you some questions?
No, it's not how it goes.
Why not?
Ask me a
Free
question.
flow.
Ask me a question.
And what's your best strength, work-wise, do you think? Because I know what it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'll tell you. Well, you tell me what you think it is.
I'd like to think it's patience, but if you said this to any of my family members,
Patience?
or
It's not patience.
what is it then? So, maybe, I don't know.
I've said this to you. It's self-awareness. I think you've got an acute self-awareness of you are very, very good at understanding and learning the subtleties about people.
Oh yeah, I'm quite good at reading people. I have to say.
You're really good at reading people.
I can smell a rat.
You can smell a rat. You can smell a good one. So the number of times where I've interpreted things in my paranoid state of flux, and you've just gone, "What? What are you talking about?" All she was saying to you was that, and that, and then I go, "Oh, okay." And that's a wrap.
Yeah, Tim, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone.